Hi, thanks for clicking on my first YouTube video. The 2022 whitetail season's over. It's now February 2023. I thought now would be a good time to give an overview of my impressions of my Gunwerks Magnus rifle that I used this year for whitetail season. I hunt mostly in the southeast, so the Florida, Georgia, South Carolina area of the country. So my environment is crop fields, which can have a few 100-yard shots at least, 400 or 500 yards, and then a lot of trees and areas of dense forest where you can't shoot probably more than 25 yards without hitting something. So that's the area of the country that I hunt in. This year, I think I took 14 or so whitetail with this rifle, and I spent a lot of time shooting it on my family's range. So I've carried this gun a lot over in 2022, and I think I'm probably ready to be able to give a decent amount of feedback on the rifle. Let me give a disclaimer. I am not in the hunting industry. No one at Gunwerks knows who I am. I didn't get anything for free. I didn't get a discount. I paid full price for absolutely everything with my own money. So now that I've got that out of the way, I want to go ahead and talk about the whole process, because what I think Gunwerks is, when you order a rifle from this company, it's not just getting a rifle, it's the entire process from the rifle itself, it fitted exactly how you like it, to the actual ammunition that they work up for this rifle, to the ability to reorder ammunition and get it rather quickly and know that it's the same thing. For instance, I just ordered 200 more rounds of ammunition a couple weeks ago. It took about a week to get here, and that was it. So I ordered 200 rounds of ammunition, the same custom ammunition that I shoot out of this rifle all the time. They basically pulled it off the shelf and sent it to me. It was that easy, and that's part of the process. So let's get it. Let's also cover this: 1,000 yards out of the box. This is probably an 1,000-yard gun out of the box for somebody. I do not have the skills to shoot 1,000 yards, and I would not shoot an animal at 1,000 yards because of my skill set. Whether I think that's ethical or not doesn't matter. I know my skill set is not, I'm not capable of doing that. So I wouldn't endanger an animal. I don't want him to suffer. So my maximum shots are 400 yards, and that's a self-imposed number. I will not shoot at an animal over 400 yards. I've shot this gun over 400 yards of paper, and it does perform. But animal-wise, I haven't shot, and won't shoot an animal over 400 yards. Personal preference. So talking about the rifle itself and what I ordered. So what I ordered from Gunwerks was the Magnus rifle in 300 Remington Ultra Magnum, carbon fiber barrel, Collis 3 to 18 MOA scope, muzzle brake, the Gunwerks muzzle brake, and the Atlas bipod, the adjustable recoil pad, and a case, the Gunwerks case that they have form fitted to this rifle. I started talking to Mitch at Gunwerks about ordering a rifle in 2021. This is an investment for me. I'm not rich and cannot order. It did not take this purchase lightly in any means. So in 2021, I started talking to Mitch about this rifle. January of 2022, I was ready to go ahead and order the rifle. I placed the order, and it did take a full 4 months to get here. So if you are looking to order one of these rifles and have them custom built, and it's not something that's already available, I suggest that you order at least 4 months ahead of time, because it's going to take that long probably. Mitch and I did communicate every couple of weeks, just because I wanted to know where the rifle was in the process, and he kept me informed. Never seemed to get angry at the fact that I kept asking the same questions over and over again. He spent a considerable amount of time with me, and I still talk to Mitch, send him emails when I need to order ammunition, etc., or if I'm thinking about ordering something else from Gunwerks, like a tripod or something. I still communicate with Mitch. So I really think the service there is great. The recoil pad, we'll start from the back of the rifle. The recoil pad on this rifle, I got the adjustable recoil pad. This is something I could have probably done without. I have yet to adjust this. In fact, it's exactly, my adjustment was to make sure that it was squared off like a normal recoil pad would be, so I could have left that out. But the actual pad itself, this is the most comfortable recoil pad that I have on any rifle or any rifle I've ever shot for that matter. It absorbs recoil, it doesn't slip on your shoulder, also doesn't get caught on things either, like some other recoil pads do that are overly spongy or have too aggressive of a pattern on the back, checker pattern. Then the Magnus stock. So this is really a nice stock. I thought at first that it was probably a lot of marketing hype about the angle of this comb and how it doesn't hit you in the face when the rifle recoils, but I can say now, after shooting hundreds and hundreds of rounds out of this rifle, that's the truth. This is everything about this stock is built for comfort and managing the rifle while you're firing it. So I like this palm swell right here. I get a real good purchase on it when I'm pulling back against it, nice and flat. I've never had a rifle with a thumb shelf like this on it, but I do use this now, put my thumb directly on it, which again helps me manage the rifle, both aiming as well as under recoil. As you come up on the stock, it's flat on the bottom, which I also like. It's comfortable to hold and shoot offhand if you need to, but it's also very flat, so I can lay this on a branch or the railing of a stand that I might be sitting at. This is very nice. The rifle's also not that heavy. I have other rifles that weigh more than this and still recoil more than this rifle. I also have rifles that weigh way less than this that you don't want to shoot over and over again. This rifle I can walk around all day, shoot a couple hundred rounds out of it in the field and have no problems whatsoever. So I actually enjoy shooting this rifle. The built-in, there's a built-in Picatinny rail right in front of the flush QD cups for your sling, and that's great for attaching a bipod to it and not having, this doesn't stick out below the rifle, so it's not one of those aftermarket pieces that I would stick on one of my other rifles that would be in the way. This is out of the way, so if this bipod's not on here, it's almost like that Picatinny rail section's not even there. It's not noticeable. I did get the titanium action. You hear a lot of times about how smooth Tikka actions are, and I have 2 Tikka rifles, I can attest. They're very smooth. This is every bit as smooth as a Tikka rifle action. I've never had any issues with feeding, never had any issues with it being stuck after the round goes off, after the gun goes off. This is just, I like the throw of this bolt. It's not in the way of the scope. So I think the action's great. The trigger is a Trigger Tech trigger, and this trigger, obviously there's no ammunition in this gun. This Trigger Tech trigger has 0 creep from I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but we'll see how easy it is to go off and how there's no move. It's just, that was it. So very easy control, no surprises here. You know when the gun is going to go off, and after shooting it as much as I have, I'm very comfortable with this trigger, even wearing gloves when it's cold. So this trigger is an excellent addition to this rifle. The floor plate, I don't know. I mean, I like this floor plate. I've had other rifles that are much cheaper that this can come open. This has not come open. I mean, so I consider that a success. So I like the floor plate. The carbon fiber barrel on this rifle, I can shoot 10 to 12 rounds and without letting it cool off and have no shot dispersion or limited shot dispersion. I can't tell. Some of that could be me. But I really enjoyed this. I have other rifles that I've shot and that I own that the fourth shot is 5 inches, 4 inches, give or take, off of where the first 3 rounds hit. So I'm a believer in this carbon fiber barrel. The muzzle brake that came on it, there's no porting on the bottom, so it doesn't kick up dust if you're close to the ground, laying prone, etc. Does seem to manage recoil. The gun is such a comfort to shoot, is so comfortable to shoot that out to 300 plus yards, when you pull the trigger, you can see in the scope the bullet hit the animal and not lose the animal in the scope. I've got other rifles that if you shoot at that distance, by the time you find the animal, by the time you recover from the flip of the muzzle, the animal's gone, and now you're looking at you don't know where it went, right? If you're by yourself. With this, I can definitely tell where I hit the animal. So this gun handles recoil excellently. I like it. The scope is, like I said, is a Collis 3 to 18 MOA. It has a left-handed windage. Now, I don't dial for windage, but I can see that if somebody was to dial for windage, that this allows you not to have to take your trigger hand off of the gun, so you don't have to get out from behind the gun at all. That is a plus. The parallax is directly under the elevation turret. That's also a plus. It's very easy to get to versus having it be inside somewhere that's difficult to get to. Scope is illuminated. The illumination is good. There's no bleeding. I've seen other scopes where when you turn the illumination on, the color kind of bleeds out of where it's supposed to be illuminated. This is not. This is very crisp and clear. The knob to adjust the magnification is just right. I did not want to get or have to have an extended throw lever because I don't want to get stuck in my backpack or stuck on anything else that I'm carrying or walking around. And so this is tight enough that you're not going to bump it, but not so tight that you can't easily manipulate it should you need to, including if your hands are cold. So you couldn't want anything else from that. The scope takes in a decent amount of light. An example of this would be that I shot a 6-point at 384 yards, 386 yards, right? And it was 5 minutes before it was too dark to see, but I could see that animal in this scope at that distance as clear as day. In fact, when I pulled the trigger, I could see the animal hit the ground. I took the rifle, I got out from behind the rifle, and I started walking in the dark basically by the time I got to him, and almost couldn't remember where he fell at. I had to find him with a thermal because I lost where he hit the ground at. It was that dark. But the scope, I could see him clearly in the scope, so that was very good. Ammunition. So most of the time when I get a rifle, and I bet most of you, when you get a rifle, you set up the scope, everything, and then you start searching for ammunition that the rifle likes, and that's really expensive, time-consuming, and difficult now that ammunition is, every type of ammunition is not readily available, right? So you might end up having to settle with what works best that you can find. And then if you only find 2 boxes of it, that's not enough to practice with, and it's not it's not enough to hunt with either. If you can't practice, you shouldn't be hunting with a rifle that you haven't shot. That's my opinion. So with Gunwerks, when I first ordered this rifle, I wanted a 190 grain burger. That was what I actually asked for. When they started to develop the load, the guys called me from the range and said that they had a 190 grain load that they'd worked up, and it was shooting okay. But that they'd also worked up other loads and were testing them, and one of them was a 225 grain ELD M load. And I don't think there's a 225 grain off the shelf 300 RUM load, ELDM. I don't think Hornady makes that. So this was obviously a custom load, and that it was shooting lights out. And so I decided to go with that load after a lot of discussion, because I've always heard that you do not shoot animals with match bullets. Horror stories like the bullet will explode on the outside of the animal, it'll wound them and they'll run off, never to be found again, or the bullet will hit the animal and it'll just blow up and ruin all of the meat, and then there was no reason to shoot the animal to begin with. So I had my reservations, and talking to the guys at Gunwerks, including Mitch, they've shot hundreds and hundreds of animals with these bullets. So I went ahead and said, okay, with the thought in the back of my head that the first animal that I shoot with this, if it doesn't work correctly, I'm throwing the rest of this ammunition away or shooting it on the range, and I'm going to buy something off the shelf that I am more comfortable with. The load here is 225 grain ELD-M, and it's moving at 2950. So not the fastest 300 RUM ammunition, but this gun is boringly accurate. At 100 yards, it stacks rounds in 5-round strings. The holes are, cover them with the end of your thumb. This is an excellent, accurate gun. After all that, the first deer, so just to close up on the ammunition, the first deer that I shot with this was at 70 yards. So not that far away. When I shot the animal, the bullet did completely pass through. The exit hole was about as big around as a 50-cent piece, and he ran 20 yards into the bushes and was dead in 10 seconds or less. So very satisfied with this ammunition. Another example of this ammunition where I actually made a mistake and the ammunition still functioned, but I shot a deer at 270 yards running up out of a draw, and when he turned to the right, and I pulled the trigger, but he turned to the right, the bullet hit him in the top of his back, broke him down immediately. He crawled off the road, and I did have to put another round in him to finish him off. He wasn't going anywhere. But that was more my fault than the ammunition, because when the bullet hit him, it was like I dropped bricks, like something dropped a ton of bricks on his back. He hit the dirt. Every other animal that I've shot with this rifle has died in under, I'm not going to give distance that they run as a measure, because in an open field in 5 seconds, a whitetail deer can run 100 yards, right? So that's not a good measure. Good measure is how long are they actually alive after the bullet strikes them, and 20 seconds tops, and that's a pretty good number, I think. So the ammunition works. The gun is incredibly accurate. I will say this, okay, so one thing, just because they do the load workup and set the turret, this is a custom turret with yardage on it, you still need to test that for yourself. I ordered it at 60 degrees and I think 0 elevation, but my eyes are different. I don't know if they were able to shoot 60 degrees and 0 elevation where they're at. They probably got close, but there are variables there, and a big variable is the person behind the rifle. So when I got it, it wasn't exactly on at 100 yards. It was off by a little bit. And as I moved around, it was off by about the same amount all the way out to 300 or so yards. So this scope's really easy to re-zero. So I re-zeroed it to the 100-yard mark that was cut on the scope for my eyes, so that it is dead on, at 100 yards, you can shoot your fingertips off with a 5-shot string, right? It's that accurate. And now, miraculously, it's also on out to 400 yards, which is as far out as I've shot this rifle, just playing and testing it. It's also really close out in the 500-yard range, although my 500-yard shot was standing up in a field, so I didn't exactly hit the bullseye with it, but it's close enough. So I would say you do need to check the 0, and you might have to make a small adjustment to that. I enjoy carrying this rifle around. I enjoy shooting it in general. It's very comfortable. I like the scope option that they mounted on it. The rings. I like everything about this rifle, except the price. Now, that amount of money is a lot to me. Might not be a lot to other people. Do you need a rifle this expensive to kill animals? No. We all know the old gentleman at the club that we sit around and listen to stories, and they've shot more deer than I'll ever see, and they've done it with a wooden stock, blued rifle barrel. The stock swells every time that the temperature changes outside, and they still kill deer while smoking a cigarette in a red flannel. So this is not necessary. But do I like it? And do I think it's worth it? Yes. Because I spend so much time in the woods hunting, and this is my favorite thing to do is hunt, from squirrels to hogs, turkeys, deer. I just like to be in the field, and I like to hunt. This makes my trip even more enjoyable. So that's a personal thing. Your mileage may vary. If you have any questions or concerns, or if you have any questions about this rifle, and you're thinking about possibly getting a Gunwerks rifle, but you want a normal, everyday, non-professional shooter, average person to ask questions, please ask them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer. If I've left anything out, let me know, and I'll do a follow-up. Maybe if you want to see me shoot this rifle at our range, just to show you how accurate it is. Maybe somebody wants to see that. Also, I was thinking about, now that deer season's over, turkey season's starting, if you're interested in these kind of just straight, my opinion, average guy opinion reviews, I could also do a review of the turkey shotgun that I'm going to be using this year, some of the calls that I'm going to be trying this year, maybe some hunting videos. So if you're interested in any of those things, leave a comment, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions and let you know what I think about other products. So thank you very much. Everybody have a good day and be safe out there.